8 o'clock past. I'm sorry, I'm a little late.
Good morning, Angada.
Morning. Sunki, Archana, Kiran, Yasmin. So today we are on page 573.
Yes.
And we have to read from consecration becomes in its fullness. Okay?
Yes.
So we have already read it. Okay, fine. So I'll read each sentence. I'm starting. Consecration becomes in its fullness a devoting of all our being to the divine. In fact, he's almost defining what consecration is. Whatever you want to do, you offer to the divine. In the Christian context, okay, consecration, to consecrate something is to make it holy by offering it to the divine. Okay? In a church, okay, consecrated water, for instance, and you can use that for blessing people. Consecration is turning something holy by offering it to the divine. Therefore, also, of all our thoughts and our works. Okay? So everything means including our thoughts and works. In fact, how can you give your thoughts to the divine? By constantly thinking of him. So whenever a thought comes also in the background of your mind, the image of the divine is always there. And the image of the divine will vary from person to person. Okay. Here, the yoga takes into itself the essential elements of the yoga of works and the yoga of knowledge. The yoga of works is everything that you do, you remember and offer. Sacrifice. Sacrifice is the main element in yoga of works, karma yoga. Whatever you do it for the divine. And yoga of knowledge, memory. The mind is constantly thinking of the divine. There is it's almost similar. That's why essential elements of both karma yoga as well as jnana yoga. But in its own manner and with its own peculiar spirit. It's a sacrifice of life and works to the divine, but a sacrifice of love more than a tuning of works to the divine. More than a work of tuning. Just 1 minute. Yeah, it's turning in SABCL. Okay? If you have got the SABCL, Sri Aurobindo Birth Center in Library, it was tuning. So they thought that is a mistake and they made it turning. But tuning also is even more interesting because if you tune yourself to something, you are vibrating at the same level. So it's actually a better word than turning. Turning also makes sense, but tuning makes even better sense. The vibrationally, you are in harmony with something else. Okay, just like in a stringed instruments, you know that tanpura and others. If you strike a chord on one, the other also will start vibrating because there is a correlation between the two. So, sacrifice of love more than a tuning of the will to the divine will. The bhakta offers up his life and all that he is, and all that he has, and all that he does to the divine. So, note that whatever he is, and all that he has, and all that he does to the divine. Very difficult for us to understand all that he is. That means to say that you tell the divine, do whatever you want with me. I am yours. You can do what you want with me. I am your faithful servant. So that is the is. And all that he has. So whatever you have, you give it to him and he may give it back to you. Okay. Sometimes there is usually a holding back. No? If I have, let us say, a lakh of rupees, I will think of, okay, I will offer 50, but 50 I will need for my daily expenses. So you hold back. But in this consecration, everything you give to him with a full confidence that he will look after you. Okay? And that it is possible, it has been done. Huh? Take Raman Maharshi for instance, he did that. He threw away even his clothes. And Sri Aurobindo, when he came to Pondicherry, not a single pie in his pocket. Just came. No even clothes. Very few, I think there was. Afterwards, he had to ask for clothes from Motilal Roy from Chandranagar. And money he was borrowing from everybody in Pondicherry. There were about 7 or 8 people who were well-to-do, and they knew about Sri Aurobindo and the Alipur bomb case, so they loaned the money to him. Okay, so that is possible. We may think it's not possible, but it is possible. Very difficult, but possible. All that he has and all that he does to the divine. So, does to the divine also, whatever I am doing, I offer it to the divine and then do the work. Thinking that you can even ask for guidance. Okay, I am going to do this work. Guide me to do it in the right way and the right spirit. That's all. This surrender may take the ascetic form, okay, as when he leaves the ordinary life of men and devotes his days solely to prayer and praise and worship, or to ecstatic meditation, gives up his personal possessions and becomes a monk or a mendicant whose one and only possession is the divine. I also remind you about Vivekananda. No? After Ramakrishna passed away, he started roaming all over India. Okay? And the only possession he had was his knowledge and his character. That's all. And he traveled all over India. From Calcutta, he went to right to the southern tip of India. And there, you remember his famous example, he swam across 100 meters of rough sea and sat on that rock, the Vivekananda rock, on which today they have built a memorial to Ramakrishna and Sharda Muni. Okay. And Vivekananda statue also is there. And there, when he was sitting on that rock, he got the idea that he has to go to the West. The idea came to him that he has to go to the West and spread Vedanta. So he was the first one to do that. So even he did that, gave up everything and started. All that does to the divine. This surrender may take the ascetic form. We have given 2 examples of ascetic form. As when he leaves the ordinary life of men and devotes his days solely to prayer and praise and worship, or to the ecstatic meditation, gives up his personal possessions and becomes a monk or the mendicant. Mendicant, the beggar. A little exalted beggar. Not a poor one, but a well-educated and with character, whose one and only possession is the divine. Gives up all actions in life except those only which help or belong to the communion with the divine and communion with other devotees, or at most keeps the doing from the secure fortress of the ascetic life of those services to men which seem peculiarly the outflowing of the divine nature of love, compassion and good. So, why have a peculiar? Because beyond or deviating from the usual or expected. Okay, in that sense. Peculiarly doesn't mean something very funny. Okay. When we use the word peculiar, normally means very funny, out of the way, out something unusual, strange. But here Sri Aurobindo is using in the sense of beyond or deviating from the usual or expected, unique or specific to a person or thing or category. So second meaning is unique to a or specific to a person or thing or category. That's a peculiarity. Which seem peculiarly the outflowing of divine nature of love, compassion and good. But there is a wider self-consecration. Now he comes to the interior yoga. Okay. Others are running away from life or concentrating only on their love for the divine. But now Sri Aurobindo is going to give it a wider meaning. But there is a wider self-consecration proper to any interior yoga, which accepting the fullness of life and the world in its entirety as the play of the divine, offers up the whole being into his possession. You completely offer yourself into for him. Possess me and do what you want with me. That's the attitude. It's a holding of all one is and has as belonging to him only and not to ourselves, and a doing of all works as an offering to him. This reminds me of a letter which he wrote to his wife. Okay? She was complaining that money is not coming and all that. So he said that, and he used to, he used to keep his money on the table in Baroda. Okay? And it's very interesting. Two incidents I'll give you about this. Okay, the one was in Baroda. He used to keep his money on the table, and he used to tell the cook, take whatever is required for purchasing of the vegetables. Okay, so that was one. He never bothered about it, and he said very clearly that to his wife, all that I have belongs to the Lord, and I use only that which is absolutely essential for me. Okay, the rest is God's, and if I take more than that, then I am a thief. So that is one interesting example. And there's another incident also in Pondicherry, which probably you know or you don't know, I don't know. But he used to keep his money in a drawer, okay, in a table drawer. He used to keep. Then there used to be a baker boy who used to come and give bread every day to them. Then some of the sadhaks, they never noticed all this. But some of the sadhaks noticed that the money is missing. Every day there's some money which is missing. So one day, they secretly sat behind the door and watched this fellow, this little boy who used to come and give the bread. And he used to take the money out of the drawer. So he was caught red-handed. Then what happened was that the sadhak caught hold of him and started giving him a beating. And then they went and told Sriyamda, this is what has happened, this fellow is doing like that. So they asked him, what should we do? What should we do with him? So Sriyamda said, let him keep the money and just warn him. Nothing more than that. No punishment, no beating. So look at the attitude, okay? So these two things, I remember the incident when I read this just now, okay? Accepting the fullness of life and the world in its entirety as a play of the divine offers up the whole being into his possession, okay? It's a holding of all one is and has also, as belonging to him only. That's what set me thinking about these two examples. And has as belonging to him only. All the money that I have belongs to him and not to ourselves. And a doing of all works as an offering to him. By this comes the complete active consecration of both the inner and the outer life, the unmutilated self-giving. Very, very difficult to do, but that's what Shyambu is saying. But if you can do it, your results are 10 times faster. If you can't do it and you do it piecemeal, little by little going, the result also will come to you finally, but little by little. Okay, so we go to the next para. There is also the consecration of the thoughts to the divine. So now he has been speaking about whatever you are, whatever you have, and whatever you are doing. So now about the thoughts. Okay. So who will read? Somebody has to read.
I can read if you wish.
Okay, go ahead. Jasmine, whenever you have the text, you can read.
There is also the consecration of the thoughts to the divine. In its inception, this is the attempt to fix the mind on the object of adoration. For naturally, the restless human mind is occupied with other objects, and even when it is directed upwards, constantly drawn away by the world, so that in the end it habitually thinks of him and all else is only secondary and thought of only in relation to him. This is done often with the aid of a physical image, or more intimately and characteristically of a mantra or a divine name through which the divine being is realized. There are supposed by those who systemize to be three stages of the seeking through the devotion of the mind. First, the constant hearing of the divine name, qualities, and all that has been attached to them. Secondly, the constant thinking of them or on the divine being or personality. Thirdly, the settling and fixing of the mind on the object. And by this comes the full realization. And by these two, there comes when the accompanying feeling or the concentration is very intense, the samadhi, the ecstatic trance in which the consciousness passes away from outer objects. But all this is really incidental. The one thing essential is the intense devotion of the thought in the mind to the object of adoration. Although it seems akin to the contemplation of the way of knowledge, it differs from that in its spirit. It is in its real nature not a still but an ecstatic contemplation. It seeks not to pass into the being of the divine, but to bring the divine into ourselves and to lose ourselves in the deep ecstasy of his presence or of his possession. And its bliss is not the peace of unity, but the ecstasy of union. Here, too, there may be the separative self consecration which ends in the going up of all other thoughts of life for the possession of this ecstasy, external afterwards in planes beyond, or the comprehensive consecration in which all the thoughts are full of the divine, and even in the occupation of life, every thought remembers him. As in the other yogas, so in this, one comes to see the divine everywhere and in all, and to pour out the realization of the divine in all one's inner activities and outer actions. But all is supposed here by the primary force of the emotional union. For it is by love that the entire self consecration and the entire possession is accomplished, and thought and action become shapes and figures of the divine love, which possesses the spirit and its members.
Okay. Quite a big para. See what it says. There are a few things which you have to be read. There is also the consecration of the thoughts to the divine. Earlier he has spoken about the three things: what you are, what you have, and what you are doing. But now he comes to the thoughts. Okay, so there is also the consecration of the thoughts to the divine. In its inception, that means in the beginning, okay, this is the attempt to fix the mind on the object of adoration. Srila is being very general. He's saying object of adoration. It may be your guru, it may be anything, okay? It may even be that there's such a huge rumpus being made about Hanuman. So, if that's your thing, okay, fine. There are some who worship Ganesh, okay? So it depends on that. It's an attempt to fix the mind on the object of adoration. He's keeping it very wide and general. For naturally, the restless human mind is occupied with other objects, and even when it is directed upwards, constantly drawn away by the word. This is a parenthetical phrase, so we will read the sentence later on after we finish without the parenthetical phrase. Then we will get the meaning of what he's saying. He is explaining here that the mind is, however much you concentrate, the pull of the world will pull you outside and down also. So that in the end, it habitually thinks of him, and all else is only secondary and thought of only in relation to him. Whatever you are thinking, it will be only in relation to him. You may be thinking of even going to purchase vegetables, but that also you will be thinking for him. Okay, I'm doing it for him. Okay. Srimdar said something, mother said something Srimdar said something very interesting. Even when you are helping somebody else, okay, suppose you are helping a companion doing something, think that you are helping the divine in your companion. If I am doing something for somebody else, okay, I have to think that I am doing it for the divine in that person. So naturally, whatever you are doing, whatever you are thinking, will be associated with him. So now I'll read that sentence without the parenthetical phrase. In its inception, this is the attempt to fix the mind on the object of adoration, so that in the end it habitually thinks of him, and all else is only secondary and thought of only in relation to him. Okay? So there you are, very clear. This is done often with the aid of a physical image. It may be a photograph, or it may be a small sculpture or anything. It may be even a statue, a physical image, or more intimately and characteristically of a mantra or a divine name through which the divine being is realized. Okay. I remember when I was just studying Sanskrit, I had started. Jagannathji, he was an expert. Okay, he was absolutely a master of Sanskrit, and he was a Vedalankar. Okay, he had a lot of knowledge about the Vedas also. He came and gave me a book. Okay, Vishnu Sahasranama. Okay, the 1,000 names of Vishnu. So either you do the names or the mantra you want. And mantra, we know, we have got Srimdar has given several mantras. He normally would not, but when he was asked, he gave the mantras. Om Tat Sat Jyotir Aravinda. Okay, that is one. This is not so common. It was really much later. But the earlier ones we all know, no? Yeah. Then even a message to Champaklal can be used as a mantra. That famous one, in the night as in the day, be always with me. In sleep as in waking, let me feel in me always the reality of your presence. Let it sustain and make to grow in me truth, consciousness, and bliss, constantly and at all times. So even this is a message to Champaklal, but it can be used as a mantra. The famous one, of course, is Om Sri Aurobindo Mira, open my mind, my heart, my life, to your light, your love, your power. In all things, may I see the divine. So, all these mantras we can use, and of course, you can use other mantras also. But Srimdar also has given some mantras. This is often done with the aid of a physical image, or more intimately and characteristically of a mantra or a divine name through which the divine being is realized. There are suppose, okay, so this sentence you have to read it this way. There are, supposed by those who systematize, to be 3 stages of the seeking through the devotion to the mind. There are first, okay, the whole thing now he has not put comma dash, but it's a parenthetical phrase. So there are first the constant hearing of the divine name. Okay? Constant hearing of the divine name. So this is referring here to our Shastras, which is constantly Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasana. Constant remembering, hearing of the name, divine name. Okay? In other words, you associate with those who are capable of generating this, the Shravana. Okay? Manana. Manana is constantly thinking of the divine. And Nididhyasana, establishing firmly in your, there are 3 stages. Nididhyasana. Deep inside you, you are the name and the atmosphere is settled in you. Hearing of the divine name. First, the constant hearing of the divine name. Qualities, just 1 second. Yeah. Qualities and all that has been attached to them. Secondly, the constant thinking on them or on the divine being or personality. Thirdly, the settling and fixing of the mind on the object. And by this comes the full realization. So there are 3 stages. First, constant hearing of the name, qualities and all that has been attached to it. This is what you would normally say is the, what do they call it? Going to, meetings and all that, associating with devotees. I forget the name now. There's a word for it. Okay.
Satsang.
Yes, that's right. Satsang. That's right. My age is catching up with me. That's right. You attend all this satsang you go to. It has got a value. So, certainly it has got a value. So then that's the first one. Then the second one. Secondly, the constant thinking of them or on the divine being or personality. Thirdly, the settling and fixing of the mind on the object. So this is exactly, he is describing only what I said, okay? The 3, Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasana. So you can get the meaning of all that he's saying. Hearing, Shravana. Constant thinking of the divine, Manana. Nididhyasana, he himself has defined it here. The settling and fixing of the mind on the object. That's a nididhyasana. Okay? And by this comes the full realization. And by these 2, there comes, when the accompanying feeling or the concentration is very intense, the samadhi, the ecstatic trance in which the consciousness passes away from outer objects. You lose consciousness of the physical world and you are deeply plunged into your own consciousness with the ecstatic trance and remembrance of the name and even the vision of the what you want to see. But all this is really incidental. It's not the main thing. The one thing essential is the intense devotion of the thought in the mind to the object of adoration. Now, there are some interesting letters here. In the beginning, when you're thinking, it's a very mechanical thing and there's no emotion in it. But that doesn't matter. Slowly, the mechanical remembrance also will start becoming full of emotion. Okay? So he has mentioned this somewhere. In synthesis only he has mentioned. In the beginning, it doesn't matter if it is mechanical. But keep on. Because you may think, oh, it's mechanical, no use. That's not true. Even mechanical repetition is very useful. That's why now you can see also the Rudraksha Mala that you do, counting, okay? That also has got a value, okay? It's very common that when the elderly people in the family are doing Rudraksha Mala, and they will be speaking to their family members also while doing this. But it may be mechanical, but it has got its value. Ultimately, it will change. That's what has been pointed out. But all these are really incidental. The one thing essentially is the intense devotion of the thought in the mind to the object of adoration. Whatever you want to, naturally, you will go away. This happens to the mother and sister, but remember either mother or both together, if possible. Although it seems akin to the contemplation of the way of knowledge, it differs from that in its spirit. Because there, it's a you are going towards knowledge, and knowledge is without emotion and without clarity of thought, clarity of mind. That's the main one in the way of knowledge, Jnana Yoga. But here you are remembering, but also you are getting ecstasy. You are getting deep joy. Okay? So it seeks not to pass into the being of the divine, like the Jnana Yoga, disappear into the divine. It's called Sayujya Mukti. That's why you disappear. You lose yourself in the deep ecstasy of the presence. That is the deep ecstasy of presence is obviously Bhakti Yoga. Okay? Then that is the Samipya Mukti and the Salokya Mukti. And its bliss is not the peace of unity, but the ecstasy of union. Okay? Not peace of unity, but something positive. Peace of unity is passive. Okay? You can say in a certain sense negative. But the ecstasy of union is absolutely active, not passive. Here too, there may be the separative self-consecration, which ends in the giving up of all other thought of life, but a possession of this ecstasy, eternal afterwards in the planes beyond, or the comprehensive consecration in which all the thoughts are full of the divine, and even in the occupations of life, every thought remembers him. As in the other yogas, so in this, one comes to see the divine everywhere and in all, and to pour out the realization of the divine in all one's inner activities and outer actions. But all is supported here by the primary force of the emotional union. This whole section is the yoga of divine love. So naturally, concentrating on that. Everything depends on the, all is supported by the primary force of the emotional union. For it is by love that the entire self-consecration and the entire possession is accomplished, and thought and action become shapes and figures of the divine love, which possesses the spirit and its members. He is describing precisely the bhakti path. What's the time? 8:33. We've got 7 minutes left. So we can certainly read one more paragraph. This is the ordinary movement by which what may be at first vague adoration. So next, who will read? Achari, and I think it's very late for you, no? I don't think you can read. So,
Shall I read?
yes, okay, go ahead.
This is the ordinary movement by which one may be, at first, a vague adoration of some idea of the divine, takes on the hue and character, and then, once entered into the path of yoga, the inner reality and intense experience of divine love. But there is the more intimate yoga, which from the first consists in this love and attains only by the intensity of its longing without other process or method. All the rest comes, but it comes out of this, as a leaf and flower out of the seed. Other things are not the means of developing and fulfilling love, but the radiations of love already growing in the soul. This is the way that the soul follows when, while occupied perhaps with the normal human life, it has heard the flute of the Godhead behind the near screen of secret woodlands, and no longer possesses itself, can have no satisfaction or rest till it has pursued and seized and possessed the divine flute player. This is in essence the power of love itself in the heart and soul, turning from earthly object to the spiritual source of all beauty and delight. There live in the seeking all the sentiment and passion, all the moods and experiences of love concentrated on a supreme object of desire and intensified a hundredfold beyond the highest acme of intensity possible to a human love. There is the disturbance of the whole life, the illumination by an unceased vision, the unsatisfied yearning for a single object of the heart's desire, the intense impatience of all that distracts from the one preoccupation, the intense pain of the obstacles that stand in the way of possession, the perfect vision of the perfect vision of all beauty and delight in a single form. And there are all the many moods of love, the joy of musing and absorption, the delight of the meeting and fulfillment and embrace, the pain of separation, the wrath of love, the tears of longing, the increased delight of reunion. The heart is the scene of the supreme ideal of the inner consciousness, but the heart, which undergoes increasingly an intense spiritual change and becomes the radiantly unfolding lotus of the spirit. And as the intensity of its seeking is beyond the highest power of the normal human emotions, so also the delight and the final ecstasy are beyond the reach of the imagination and beyond the expression by speech. For this is the delight of the Godhead that passes human understanding.
That passes human understanding. So we have got about 3 minutes left. So what I can do is I can read out the summary. It's pretty simple. There's nothing very complicated. So, what she's saying in this paragraph. We have described how the mere religious outer worship becomes an inner adoration and then a yoga of devotion. This is mostly the normal way how religious worship by wrong methods and emotions becomes an inner yogic devotion with the right feelings and emotions. But there is another way, that from the first is the path of love. When man has had a glimpse of the divine, a touch, when he has heard the alluring call of Krishna's flute, the normal life is torn apart and the pursuit of the flute player becomes an obsession. Very interesting case is Meera, okay? So, there is then no peace of mind, no rest. There is intense disturbance of normal life. There is the unsatisfied yearning of one single aim in life. There is impatience, sorrow of separation, intense pain of obstructions. All the moods of love ache in the heart. Joy of musing, delight of meeting, fulfillment of embrace, pain of separation, wrath of love. Okay? Love also can end in wrath for human beings. Tears of longing, okay? Increased delight of reunion. All these are mentioned. All this drama and romance takes place in the heart and the inner consciousness, both of which undergo an intense spiritual transformation. All this seeking and final ecstasy are beyond human understanding. That's what he has said in this paragraph. Okay, so you can see how the path of Jnana Yoga is very cold and quite not so, it's almost like a desert. Okay, but the path of love is full of emotion, rasa, okay, and full of sweetness. So that's why Sri says better to get the psychic forward. Okay, bring that forward, then you have the sunlit path. Anyway, so next we can do the Indian Bhakta has given Bhakti has given to this understanding. Okay. So next Friday we'll take up from Indian Bhakti. Suki will have to note down.
Yes, I'll make a note.
Okay. Goodbye, everybody. Have a nice day.
Thank you, Rangada.
Thank you, Rangada.